Today's episode is brought to you by Venmo. Look, no matter how your favorite team does this season, there's still one way to feel like a winner, and that's with Venmo. That's because when you use Venmo to transfer $50 or more to a DraftKings DFS account for the first time or the first time in 3+ months, you'll get $25 in DraftKings bonus credits. Terms apply. Just go to DraftKings.com/Venmo offer to activate your offer. Then choose Venmo to add funds to your DraftKings account, add $50 or more, and boom! 25 bonus credits will appear in your DraftKings account if you're eligible. This offer is only good through February 15th, 2026, or while supplies last, so don't fumble your chance before time runs out. Here's the deal. Venmo is a fast, easy way for you to add money onto DraftKings. And if you don't have a Venmo account yet, don't sweat it. You can download the app and sign up in minutes. So what are you waiting for? Just add $50 or more to your DraftKings DFS account with Venmo, and you'll get $25 in bonus credits. Go to DraftKings.com/Venmo offer and go get that bonus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. One per customer. Minimum $50 transfer from your Venmo account to DraftKings DFS account. $25 reward issued as non-withdrawable DK Dollars site credits that do not expire while rewards last. 20,000 total transfer redemptions available. See terms at www.draftkings.com/Venmo offer. Ends February 15th, 2026 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern.
I understand the enthusiasm, confusion even. The Hoosiers aren't just beating Alabama, they're kicking the shit out of them. And I'm pretty sure this is the Rose Bowl.
Hoosiers! Let's go, baby!
Weird times.
Moments after the biggest miracle in sports since the 1980 U.S. hockey team. Moments away from 3 NFL division titles being settled. Hi and hello and Happy New Year, my fellow football Americans. Yeah, it's a whole new world order. The Indiana Hoosiers didn't just beat the Alabama Crimson Tide in the Rose Bowl. They destroyed them. Welcome to NFL Week 18. Welcome to, I guess, in between college football playoff rounds 2 and 3. Welcome to Football America, episode number 39, presented as ever by our pals over at DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. We have a lot to cover here. Only 2, maybe 3 really important pro football games. We're going to dig in on those. Also going to look back at some college football stuff. Maybe even get to a Shecky Award. Good times for sure if you are a fan of the U, the Ducks, Ole Miss. Wild game, wild fourth quarter against Georgia. But it's still only kind of good times, I think, if you're Ole Miss, because Lane Kiffin may or may not be trying to take some of the assistants off of the Ole Miss sideline and bring them over to LSU sooner rather than later, right in the midst, right before the semifinal. And, of course, good times, nay, great ones for IU Hoosiers fans, implausible though they may be. Good times for the NFL teams in the playoffs already. We'll see if that group includes the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Baltimore Ravens. We'll see if it includes the Buccaneers or the Carolina Panthers. If the Falcons beat the Saints, then it's the Panthers winning the bum NFC South no matter what happens in their head-to-head with the Bucs. Do I have that right? I think that's right.
You do.
It's very confusing
you have it right.
stuff.
You have it right.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Good.
Yeah, no. If the I think what'd you say? If the Saints beat the Falcons,
the Saints beat the Falcons.
I think if the Saints beat the Falcons, the Panthers are in no matter what. But to be fair, the way that the Buccaneers have been playing, I almost rather have the Panthers at this point. Buccaneers not been very good. Yeah.
Well, who wants the Panthers or the Bucs is the 5 seed in the NFC, and the 5 seed in the AFC wants the winner of the AFC North. So long as it's Pittsburgh, it takes on a very different hue, though. If Lamar Jackson comes back and looks anything close to Lamar Jackson, all of a sudden, them as the 4 seed is a much scarier out than they would have been a week or 3 ago. And, of course, if DK Metcalf hadn't gotten suspended for 2 games, that hash would probably already be settled and Aaron Rodgers wouldn't be playing this Sunday. Instead, we get to see him on Sunday Night Football against Lamar Jackson. We'll get into that game in just a little bit quickly as we do at the top of every episode. By the way, that was just the voice of Mike Fuentes. I only barely remembered. It's been so long since he shadowed our digital door here on the podcast. Welcome back, Mike. And how was your New Year's? Well, I assume it's pretty good. You were watching the U after all.
It was. I have kind of qualms about the New Year's game because you either, so Mike Ryan, some of our friends are out there watching the game in Dallas. Great New Year's for them. Fantastic New Year's. If you're on the other side, got to be the worst end to a year possible. No way it's bad. You spend all this money to go to Dallas. You're up there in Jerry World. As we all know, Arlington's like maybe 45 minutes away from Dallas. So now you're stuck out there in the middle of nowhere at like a Holiday Inn Suites trying to figure out what went wrong, why your true freshman quarterback had, Desmond Bain stuck in his butthole all night. And Reuben Bain his butthole all night. And now you got to find a way to get out of there as the ball drops and everybody else from around you. You got Hurricanes fans flipping you off as they're leaving the thing. Terrible New Year's. Great for me, though. I had lobster and steak, and the Canes won.
I'm glad. Well, you got the hat trick there, and you just worked in a twofer of butthole in the span of about
good work on that. Good work on that.
So Mike Fuentes is back, everybody. There's Soup Campbell up in the Pacific Northwest. Welcome and Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year.
And congrats to your Ducks, I guess. All right, we don't need that.
No, sorry. It is one of the most annoying things. Like when you're fighting, like your intimidation is a duck call. It's pretty bad. But man, Dave, I'm elated. I am like on cloud 9. The Ducks like dialed it back. We've got the gangrene defense is back. Just thumped Texas Tech, and it felt really, really good. And I gotta say, for the first time,
I don't know if I'd say thumped them.
They didn't
do 23-0.
23-0.
Isn't a shutout? A shutout is a thumping. Yeah, a shutout is a thumping.
Totally a thumping. Totally a thumping. But the thing that's amazing is, and I don't want to jinx myself, Dave, but we actually have a shot. Like there's a pathway for the Oregon Ducks to climb out of our sadness, climb out of our nightmare of Kajana Carter in Penn State, climb out of our nightmare of Cam Newton in Auburn, just climb out to just get to the victory point of a national championship. But there's this team called Indiana that is in our way, and I think that actually might be coming up next week. The real national championship.
You are now, through no fault of the Oregon Duck program, I guess maybe Mr. Nike has, made them into an elitist brand.
Uncle Phil.
But they are, through no fault of their own, now everybody is going to be rooting against them. All objective football fans, anybody who tunes in loves this miraculous story that is the Indiana Hoosiers, led by Fernando the Dork and sardonic coach Signetti. I was there, as you heard at the top of the show. We'll dig in on that in just a second, but let's settle the hash that we do at the top of every episode. This is episode number 39, and we honor the player or players who wore that jersey number best in football and sports history. Pretty short list here in pro football. Larry Zonka gets it, the old mustachioed guy for the Miami Dolphins. Shout out to him, the clear-cut number 1. But Fast Willie Parker, also a Super Bowl, which could have been a Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl 40. He breaks off the big one against the Seattle Seahawks in the second half that really was the signature play, or I guess the 1A. Hines Ward catching a touchdown pass from another. Oh, how about this? Complete the circle. Indiana University quarterback Antoine Randall, then a receiver for the Steelers, threw a touchdown pass to Hines Ward. By the way, New Year's Eve, I because you mentioned that, Mike, one of the greatest sporting events I've ever attended was on New Year's Eve, and it started, if memory serves, it started at 4 p.m. local time. It was in 1988 when Mario Lemieux scored 5 goals in 5 different ways: regular strength, shorthanded, power play, penalty shot, and empty net goal. Literally an unbreakable record, and I can't imagine anybody ever equaling that one. That was good. But as one of society's great empaths, I did sincerely take a moment in the second half at the Rose Bowl to look around and feel sad for the Alabama people who went to the trouble of making the trip.
No.
Oh, no, do not shed a tear. Mike,
Listen,
take it away.
Listen. They terrorized college football for like 15 years, all right? And all of a sudden, now you can pay players. So now that Nick Saban couldn't pay them illegally anymore and everybody else gets to equally pay them, now all of a sudden, you know what? I'm good. Don't want to do this anymore. I get it, Nick. Enjoy retirement, but I don't feel bad for them. I don't feel bad for them one bit, okay? They've had this coming for a long time, okay? You take your 3 points and you go back to Tuscaloosa and you yourself have a sad New Year's Day.
I did. It was great. The thing that's great about sports, I know I sing songs about it, and I'm sorry if it's a little cheesy for your taste out there. The thing that I love about sports, or the number one thing about it, is look how happy it makes everybody, and even better when it makes people you know and care about super happy. And so it was splendid. The text change with my cousin Meg, who's an IU grad, and then with all the pals back there spread across the Midwest and the rest of football America. And just in the last few days, because of this Rose Bowl, I got to catch up with guys Vandy, Dr. Wang, the urologist, the Hog, Dr. Ted, the dentist, and JV. These are real people with stupid nicknames. And speaking of guys with stupid nicknames, we have a guy who won our fantasy football league this year. He beat John Hamm and Trevor in the final. And it's the Dutch Mook Paul Koehorst. He's going to join us, and I'm going to pull back the curtain here because no jive is my policy. It's the only way we roll here. No jive. We attempted a live show earlier on Friday, and it went famously. It was a great time. The Dutch Mook happens to be an Oregon Ducks fan and a San Francisco 49ers fan. So I thought, who better to talk to between a big game for the Niners and after a big win for the Ducks. The problem is we had audio issues, and so now we're doing a decent chunk of it before. We have, I think, coming up here in a little while, we'll hear some of our conversation. And it'll be brand new for you. If you didn't watch it live, great news. It's gonna be
great stuff.
Fresh ears for you.
Great stuff. Paul was fantastic.
We'll pick the Niners and Seahawks. We'll pick the Steelers and Ravens, and we have that upcoming. Okay, I got sidetracked there. Number 39, my favorite number 39, one of my all-time favorite athletes, the Cobra Dave Parker. I'm so glad he got into the Baseball Hall of Fame just before he passed away. As a reminder, that's a great New Year's resolution for 2026 and really any time. Let's make sure we start celebrating people while they're still around to enjoy it. I'm glad that the Cobra got to know he was a Hall of Famer after waiting way too long to get in there. As it relates to pro football, we haven't talked much about it. We haven't had an occasion really to dig in on this, but a couple of things about the new list of finalists. To me, of course, now that Dave Parker's in the Hall of Fame, the weirdest omission out there in any of these Halls of Fame is Torrey Holt. He wasn't just one of the great receivers of his generation. Maybe he was the best receiver for a stretch, for a season or three, the best pass catcher in all of pro football. But one thing's for sure, he was definitely better than his teammate Isaac Bruce, who's in the Hall of Fame. So by that measure, give him a gold jacket, would you already? Also, Reggie Wayne maybe suffers from the same thing of being the sidekick-ish or the 1A to Marvin Harrison. Reggie Wayne is a for-real Hall of Famer, and so is Steve Smith. We talked to him earlier on Football America earlier this football season. All of those cats belong in the Hall of Fame. It's weird, but also I feel like each is starting to suffer from this weird purgatory, which is, and I'm sort of elitist enough to say about it, either you're a Hall of Famer or you're not. When your name comes up, when you're eligible for the first time, we should be able to determine collectively, or the voters should be able to decide, like, well, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer, and give him his gold jacket. And this backlog, well, we have to wait because this guy missed last year, so we got to get him in first before we get that guy. All that jive. Either you're a Hall of Famer or you're not. And then I go the other way on it, this weird, like, reconsideration a decade or 15 years after the guy retires and say, you know what, now that I've had some time to prey upon it, he is a Hall of Famer. Weird how that works. But then again, Devil's Damashek says we do that with movies as well. The Big Lebowski, as a for instance, was not critically acclaimed when it came out. It wasn't a big hit or anything, but of course, a lot of people will cite that as their favorite movie or among their favorite movies. So maybe I should lighten up a little bit. I am pretty liberal where it comes to the Hall of Fame. Did you impact the sport for a season where you one of the two or so best at the position? Then you belong in the Hall of Fame. The thing that is, this is a good, this could be a Shecky Award, as a matter of fact, for most curmudgeonly opinion.
Yeah, what do you got? What do you got? Lay it out. What do you got?
Wait. I have a question. You're saying if you impacted the sport for one season, you deserve
maybe one.
Okay, because if that's the case, then we got to put Peyton Hillis in the Hall of Fame, and that's just not right.
I take that back.
You got to take that back. Yeah, thank you.
I got over my skis.
I was about to say,
right.
yeah.
It's okay.
No, you're right. Yeah, that was poorly phrased. But I'm not concerned with. I think durability is a great thing, especially in a physical sport like football. It is way down on my list. If you were Terrell Davis, if you had that magical 5 years or 6 years, then you belong in the Hall of Fame more, in my opinion, than Frank Gore does, who may wind up getting a gold jacket himself sooner rather than later. But the high end is more meaningful to me than doing it stretched out. Having pretty good numbers stretched out over 15 years is less impressive to me. The other thing is, with the Hall of Fame, this is a curmudgeonly opinion, but I would love to see individually the current Hall of Fame voters isolated so that no one else can get in their ear and tell them any information, and just say, like, articulate for me in depth why you think Willie Anderson, the longtime right tackle of the Cincinnati Bengals, has to get a gold jacket over any of the receivers I named, or Ricky Watters or Roger Craig. They wouldn't be able to do it. Why? Because there are only roughly a half dozen or so people walking the planet Earth who can really tell you why that offensive lineman is dominant. I mean, okay, the guys who do it, who play the position, have a keen eye for that. But I'm talking about the analysts that you hear weigh in on quality offensive line play, and this guy's a stud. I'm talking about talking heads that you watch on TV, but your pals too. These people who weigh in as though they have any understanding about a 300-pound man leaning good on another fat guy is the height of pretentious in my book. Why? Oh yes, Jari Evans. He must get in the Hall of Fame before we even consider Reggie Wayne. Why? Tell me why, Hall of Fame voter. You have the vote. You must be able to describe for me the unwashed one of the unwashed masses why that's the case. Of course, they wouldn't be able to do it. Anyhow, there's a curmudgeonly thing, curmudgeonly opinion for you.
You know, people keep asking me about my 2026 resolutions, and yeah, I got the usual stuff. You know, watch more games, complain about the power play, and pretend like my team's actually going to stay healthy. But this year, the one at the top of my list is simple. Get comfy. That's where Bombas comes in. They bring serious comfort to my everyday essentials. Bombas just dropped their all-new sports socks, engineered for running, golf, hiking, skiing, snowboarding, basically whatever you're pretending you're about to be really into. And I'm trying to stay active this year by playing hockey. I need these socks. It has cushioning where you need it, it's sweat wicking, solid support, no distractions, just comfort. And for the everyday stuff, Bombas footwear has you covered. Sunday slippers for staying in, Friday sandals for quick errands, and the new Saturday suede slip-ons for when you want comfort but still need to leave the house. Premium everyday go-tos I don't really think about, which is kind of the point. And for every item you buy, Bombas donates one to someone facing housing insecurity. One bought, one donated. Over 150 million items so far. Head over to bombas.com/DKN and use code DKN for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com/DKN, code DKN at checkout.
Hi and hello, my fellow football Americans. I don't mean to be a bummer, but the holidays are kind of winding down here, but Pick 6 is heating up, DraftKings' newest fantasy pick'em game. Make your NBA picks for a shot to win big cash prizes still this holiday season and beyond. Here's how it works. Just choose more or less on 2 or more player stats. The more accurate your picks, the bigger your payout's going to be. It's kind of the upside you'll only find on Pick 6, not those other pick'em sites. And it's available in most states, including Texas, California, Georgia, and more. What are you waiting for? Whether it's 2025 or 2026, go and download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code Damashek. New DraftKings customers can play just $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits with the code Damashek, DAMESHEK. Ride the upside in partnership with DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
This is kind of what we wanted college football playoff to be, because there's 4 teams in. One hasn't won a title since 2001. One hasn't won a title since JFK was alive. And they claimed that national title. They didn't win it. Indiana, classic loser in college football. They're there in Oregon. Oregon's been a punchline, okay? More uniforms than titles. That was always the joke people make about them. So this is kind of the culmination, of things that they wanted with the college football playoff.
Yeah.
I bet they're probably mad, that Georgia's not there.
Four head coaches of the Nick Saban coaching tree.
Yes, except, it's funny. There was a time yesterday when every single coach had been a Nick Saban assistant except one. And who was that? DeBoer, the actual coach of Alabama.
Who was a former assistant where? Indiana University.
Indiana University.
Correct.
Yep.
Full circle.
Former head
By the
coach
way,
at UW.
my pals we were talking like, how sustainable is this magic ride? Is it going to end up feeling like a mirage, a year or 3 from now? We were burned by the Michael Penix. If you remember about 5 years ago during COVID, Michael Penix beat Penn State on that lunge for the end zone. They almost beat Justin Fields in Ohio State and Columbus, and we thought maybe the Hoosiers are going to get good at football. They did not get good at football. This has now endured for one season more than what happened 5 years ago. I think in this case, in the NIL age, I think that you have the mercenary that is Curt Cignetti, who's clearly a QB whisperer. And now that he's done it 2 years in a row, he brings over Curtis Rourke last year, who ends up getting drafted. Fernando Mendoza is going to get drafted, 2 or 3 at worst this year. So if you're Sam Levitt from ASU, who's now officially in the portal, or someone like that, where else are you looking? Or it has to be on your short list of options. This guy clearly produces studs at QB and elevate your chances of getting drafted in the NFL. So I think it is sustainable so long as Curt Cignetti is there.
Miami's doing the same thing. But the funny thing is, because obviously we had Cam Ward go number 1, and he was a Heisman finalist. You're not going to get that with Carson Beck, but you can show that these guys can go and win somewhere. The only issue I see with that, and it's funny, it's something that's kind of exclusive to the NIL era, because Alabama was winning a bunch of titles, and they had like A.J. McCarron playing quarterback. So they were able to fill in all those positions, and we'll just throw anybody out there who can run, maybe a little Hawaiian guy that ends up getting drafted by the Dolphins and then basically ends up stealing money, and now we don't know what to do with them. But they would do that. But now it seems get the best quarterback and kind of just roll with it. And Indiana and Miami seem to have that model where it's like proof of concept. We can get you to the NFL in like a top 5 draft.
Dave, who you got for this game? Who you got for this game?
Here's the thing. I have to, again, no jive policy. I have to concede something to you. It's all very exciting. I'm happy for my friends who are really over the moon about this, and a lot of fellas are making plans to head to Atlanta for, I think it is technically the Peach Bowl, to play the Oregon Ducks in the rematch. It's great. There are just no stakes for me. There's no downside. So it's hard for me. I can't get nervous for anything that happens. So I'm not saying it. I want the Hoosiers to win. It would be great if they did, but they already finished number 1 and they went undefeated. And Fernando Mendoza won the Heisman Trophy. And the greatest win in school history, without hyperbole, is maybe winning in Eugene against the Ducks when you just never thought they would have a chance of doing that. Yeah. And then they win the Big Ten championship against mighty Ohio State. And now they just beat Alabama. I mean, what more can they do?
Dave,
if they lose to Oregon, so be it. I didn't think any of this was plausible.
I don't believe you one bit. because the last thing you want to do is get really close to winning a national championship in a sport you're not supposed to be good at, right? You're right there. You're 2 games away. And a team that sits in front of you is a team you've already beaten. And on the other side, let's be real, is 2 teams that nobody believes in. A Hurricane team that had to wait till the last day to get into the playoff, and then an Ole Miss team that their coaches are abandoning them in droves. So basically, you're thinking, if we beat this team we've already beat, we are going to be the favorites of the national championship. I don't believe you one bit. To lose in the semifinal to a team you already beat, who's also a Big Ten rival, would be disastrous.
I'm telling you.
You may never be here again. That's the problem. You may never be here again.
Remember when George W. Bush looked in Putin's eyes and saw his soul? Try and do that with your old pal Dave right now. I can tell you honestly, I'm way more concerned, way more bothered because of the history, way more concerned about the Pittsburgh Steelers and what happens against the Ravens than what happens with the Hoosiers and the Ducks. This is like...
Oh my God, Dave, there's no way Aaron Rodgers winning the Super Bowl. You know that. You know he's not going to win the Super Bowl. So Fernando Mendoza's right there. Ride my Cuban brethren, my Miami compadre, my paisano. Ride him to a national championship, Dave. Get on whatever the hell a Hoosier is, strap on the saddle, and ride that baby all the way down to Miami.
I love nothing more than to watch you torment yourself and
Dave,
Mike Ryan and everybody in Miami try to make sense of the U versus native son Fernando would be the greatest final.
Yeah. Just imagine it. It's a January night in Miami. It's 60 degrees, beautiful, crisp air. All right. Fernando Mendoza wakes up. He says his 17th prayer of the morning. He has a Cuban sandwich. He checks AI to make sure his winning speech is available. And he goes home and he beats his hometown team in Miami. 50,000 Cubans in the stands, utterly confused. They don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. He lifts the trophy. He thanks God 17 times before he thanks his abuela. And then before you know it, he rides off to the sunset to go be a Las Vegas Raider, and you never see him again. Like that. What an ending!
Coach Sig's like, whatever, Dave.
What
we'll
an
see
ending!
You next year.
Yeah,
we'll see you.
He says that. You gotta cherish it, Dave.
I love it. I'm just saying that you gotta own it. There's no doubt. I hear you. I can't talk myself into that. And what I feel like is what a Vegas Golden Knights fan must have felt in their first season. They go all the way to the Cup final and lose to the Caps. So it's like, all right, well, and we didn't have a hockey team last year. That's kind of how I feel. Like, when we didn't play football until about 18 months ago. So, I mean, how sad am I going to be if we lose a game? You know, it does make me want to give out. You know, the one thing, more empathy from me for Alabama, my heart went out to them until I realized, do you know, fashion-wise, every Alabama male fan wears those same weird brown square-toe boots, like they're about to go out and bale some hay. It's very weird. They really want to lean into the stereotype for some reason in their boot-cut jeans and their weird boots. But still, I have a big enough heart that I went out to all of those. That had to be real rough to watch the Indiana Hoosiers kill you on the fashion they did. And that brings me to this. If I may, I'd like to give out a new Shecky Award. Okay. First of all, I did. If you missed it last week, we gave out the first one, and unfortunately, it's the one no one wants to win. It's the Sonic Award, so named for the 2008 sports town of Seattle, who lost Kevin Durant and all the other Sonics, left town and moved to Oklahoma. That was the tip of the sad sports iceberg for Seattle fans in 2008. We give it to the sports town whose fans suffered the most in the last calendar year. We gave it to Washington, D.C. And again, no jive, but when I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong. And a couple of people dropped me a line and said, no mention of Dallas? And I thought it through. Micah Parsons gets traded away to an ancient rival. Luka Doncic gets traded away to a conference rival. But, I mean, obviously he's a generational player, and you just said goodbye to him. The Rangers were 500. They were irrelevant. And the Stars were good, but then they flamed out against Edmonton on the big stage in the conference finals. That's all right. And the Cowboys were typical Dallas Cowboys, non-factor when things really started to matter. So I think maybe, do we need to amend this, or do we keep it with our nation's capital? I'm going to start with you here, Mike.
Dallas or Washington?
Yeah.
Big letdown because it starts for
no.
Jayden Daniels in the conference finals in January, but the rest of the year stinks.
Yeah, it's hard.
The Caps
it's hard.
are irrelevant again in the postseason, as they typically are. Save that one time they beat an expansion team and to win their one cup, so that only counts for a half. The Wizards are forever terrible, and the Nationals are terrible as well. So that's a pretty bad one.
It would be unless you got Cooper Flag. Like,
Well, yeah, well,
you got that. You have that ability to kind of like, it's sad, but it's like, oh, you got like, what this kid's going to be absolutely amazing.
But,
so I think you got to stay with Washington.
Yeah, and also
you know what I mean?
and that's also the fall of the Great American Empire. That's where it's going to begin. So you got to take that into account. And Doncic getting traded, stars get traded all the time. I think the real.
Not like that, though.
Well, no,
Not
but
yes,
like that. And the thing is, what'd you get back for him? And when you see what they got back, now it just compiles it, right? Because if you get, you knew you had a Cooper Flag coming in. Well, actually, you didn't at the time of the trade. You didn't because they ended up winning it later. Yeah. So, if you get a big haul back and a guy was like, I didn't really want to be here, you're kind of like, well, if he didn't want to stay anyway, it's fine. But you get back basically nothing. Kyrie's out for like half the season, but. I don't know. It's a good question.
To my fellow football Americans to weigh in, please do so. By the way, I should have said it at the top. Get in on YouTube specifically. We really appreciate the notes and the likes, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so. That really helps us out quite a bit, and spread the word wherever you find your audio podcasts as well. In the meantime, I want to give another Shecky Award out right now. This one is the craziest thing to learn about if you fell into a coma last New Year's Eve and are just now waking up. Okay? You understand the notion behind this Shecky Award? All right. The first one is the Kansas City Chiefs and Detroit Lions both missed the playoffs. Stunning. Next, big-time college football coaches from blue blood programs got fired in the midseason. That never happens. Not multiple times across football America. Next, I mentioned it, Micah Parsons got traded. After that, more pop culture. Jimmy Kimmel gets pulled off of his late night show, essentially by the U.S. government, or encouraged by, and a week later is reinstalled because America won't have it. That was a pretty wild storyline if somebody told you that happened while you were watching the Rose Bowl on Thursday. McJesus and Dreisaitl didn't win the cup again. This is a stunner for all of time until they do get one. The best player in the sport and the second, third, fourth best player in the sport have never won the championship. That's sad. Jayden Daniels did 0, but his second-year pals, Bo Nix, Drake Maye, and Caleb Williams, all won their divisions. That is insane if you really take a step back. I know we're now used to the idea of the Broncos and Patriots being good, but you wouldn't have thought that a year ago. The Steelers followed up their awful idea of starting Russell Wilson by signing another washed-up mercenary in Aaron Rodgers. That was a crazy story, at least in my head. And the Indiana Hoosiers not only defeated the Alabama Crimson Tide, they destroyed them in the Rose Bowl, which counted as round 2 of the playoff. And your winner is... What the hell do you think it is? It's the Indiana Hoosiers beating Alabama in any game, anywhere, anytime, let alone in the Rose Bowl, to advance to being one of the last 4 teams left standing in this stupid college football playoff. All right, let's bring in, he has already been brought in, but now let's bring him in here. He is one of my favorite fellows around. He is the fantasy football champion reigning right now in our dumb league out here. Niners fan, Ducks fan, scratch golfer, great writer. Dutch Mook is a part of the conversation from here on out, and we'll pick it up where we left off.
A Shecky to Danny for running this. Look, Dave, we have so much going on here in the stadium. Look, I don't even know what this thing is. It just has a knob. Look at all this crap on the table. There's so much going on here in the middle of a tech upgrade. So, unfortunately, the man you called Dutch Mook, we lost half his interview. I'd like to apologize, Football America. There's so much crap. I don't know what's going on. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Beat Oregon in Eugene. We've shown we can win these big games. You know?
don't think so. I don't think so. And shout out, because the thing that's great about it, and I know it's saccharine and I go on and on about it all the time, but the reason sports for the spectator, the number one reason they're great is because of how happy it makes the people in your life to see those teams do well, and it's a reason to connect with them. In the last few days, I've caught up with my guy Vandy, Dr. Wang, the Hog, Dr. Ted, JV. These are real people, despite the stupid nicknames, Dutch Mook.
Have any of the Cutters reached out to you?
One of those guys, actually, he wasn't on the Cutters, but he did ride in the little 500 bike race, yes. So that was a good reference by you. So, yeah, listen, it's been great. And the text chains and everyone's sending the pictures and all of that. It's all great stuff. But I don't know. That's the question. Oh, do you think this is the end? No. As long as Coach Sig is there, now he is the mercenary you want to go and work with if you have aspirations of playing in the NFL and you're a QB. And of course, once you figure out that, all the guys around that want to be a part of that. You want to be on the offensive line. You want to be a pass catcher or a running back if you know you're going to be in a mighty offense with a great QB. I don't know if Sam Levitt, who is officially now in the portal, transferring from Arizona State, I don't know if he winds up at Indiana, but I think if there is a high-end QB out there looking to put himself in the best spot before the draft next year, Fernando's going to be a top 3 pick at worst. So, yeah, I think it is sustainable. Quarterback matters on some level. You can make a case even more in college football, because if you have the answer there, you can really cover up a lot of other crap in college football. So, yeah, I think it is sustainable. Quickly, your pick before we move on to pro football picks here. And Soup, since you're rooting for the Ducks as well, go ahead, make your pick. +4, Oregon Ducks, the big debate. Is it hard to beat the same team twice, or once you've already taken the body shot of losing at home, are you like, what chance do we have on a neutral site? Mook.
I think it is hard to beat the same team twice. Look, I saw with Washington last year, it was hard to beat the same team once. But I think personally that watching that first Indiana game, I was pretty hopeless. That D-line did something to Oregon that was shocking. Like, I was really confident in that Oregon offensive line, and they got freaking manhandled. And I don't know how you fix that, bar one little thing. We have Dan Lanning, and Dan's a smart guy, and he's about as good a motivator there is in NCAA football. And I truly do think the Ducks can win this game. And then they'll probably lose a horrible national championship.
But for real, they're the winner of this game is going to be likely, I don't know, maybe
But it's the most Oregon thing. It would probably be the most Oregon thing to win this game, and then it's like, okay, it's all over but the crying, and then to freaking blow the national championship game.
Yeah, but the other thing is the Ole Miss element of it is with Lane now, it's unclear what's going on the sideline, but those guys are slowly moving away from Ole Miss. They're leaving Oxford actively before this. It's unclear. I don't think that ultimately happens. I mean, what a terrible look. SEC overlords have to step in and be like, listen, rob Peter to pay Paul all you want, but now we're in the semifinals, guys. This is good for the conference. If Ole Miss wins and gets to the championship, please, Lane, do not take these guys this week. What a horrendous look. Soup, what's your pick in this one?
I got to go with the Oregon Ducks, and the only reason I'm going that way is because I haven't seen like a perfect Dante Moore game yet. Like, there's always that moment where you're like, wait, we haven't seen his ceiling yet. We haven't excel in the red zone. So I think if we can make a little bit of corrections, especially in the red zone, and just try to get one touchdown, I think we're going to squeak it out maybe by 2 points. It's going to be close. I don't see this a blowout either way, though. The two teams are too good.
I do have to say, I mean, like I say, I'm not indifferent about it. Obviously, I hope the Hoosiers win, but it's not going to be devastating. Not 1/100th as devastating as the Steelers losing to the Cleveland Browns with the division on the line a week ago. It's just all gravy. I keep saying it, but Mike Fuentes, ironic or otherwise, I do have to shout him out because on his birthday last week, he was taking time out of his birthday celebration to text me, see, the Bills are at home. home and they're losing to the Eagles. So you and your dumb home field advantage and playing in the outdoors in the elements being an advantage to northern-based teams and all of that. The big exception in the college football playoff to all these antiseptic dome joints, and you wouldn't know one from the other, is the Rose Bowl. And I found myself walking through the rain trying to get to the Rose Bowl, and that really sucked in L.A. But the football gods ultimately smiled and didn't douse us too badly with the rain. But that would have been terrible if the Hoosiers had lost in a downpour. I think that would have been point Mike Fuentes against Dave Damashek in being right about playing out in the elements. All right, let's get to it, shall we? Let's make some picks for Week 18, and one of those picks is we are finally here, and you can rightly declare who you think deserves the MVP. Mook, I start with you. The conversation is Drake Maye, by the way, has become now a I don't know, prohibitive favorite, but the bookmakers are on my side. It's got to be Drake Maye. How say you about 1, 2, 3, though? Drake Maye, Matthew Stafford, or let me throw in a wild card for you, Christian McCaffrey.
It's surprising how little chatter McCaffrey's gotten,
right?
Because it was one of those things that happened when the Niners lost all those defensive players. Everyone kind of just put the Niners in a box aside and said, "Well, let's not even think about them."
I did, right?
And so I think the one thing that I mentioned before is we remember beginnings and ends better. So Drake Maye is going to end the season with this performance against the Jets last week. Whatever he's going to do this weekend against Miami, I believe, is just going to torch them. He probably only play a half, whatever. But he's going to have this stupendous end to the season. And I think that the Drake Maye thing does feel like a done deal. I mean, and then I personally put McCaffrey there because McCaffrey's season, he's going to have 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards receiving. It's been done, 3 times in NFL history. He stayed completely healthy for a player who's not 25 anymore. I mean, he's basically single-handedly this last month kept the Niners in these games, catching short passes from, he's catching short passes from Purdy and doing a lot of the work himself. So I think that I personally put McCaffrey at second, and I would give him consideration at first, but I'm a homer, so I'm a little bit biased.
Well, you could say homer if you want to, and obviously I'm not on the Niners, and in fact, like you described, I backed off of them with the injuries. I just felt like there was a ceiling imposed on them that lowered the chances of them getting to the title game, let alone to the Super Bowl, a home game, but they're pretty close to it. And to your point about beginning and end, if his finishing act of the regular season is leading the Niners to a win against the Hawks and claiming the number 1 seed, that should make, I know this is a ridiculous moot conversation. There's no chance they're going to give it to a non-quarterback, but in terms of history, like you say, 1,000 and 1,000. And the other point is, too, it's because of the narratives that we create in our heads during a football season. And we got swept up in, like, maybe the Broncos are good, but wait a second. Is it over for Josh Allen in the AFC East? And here come the Patriots once again, and Caleb Williams, and all the stuff in all the intrigue of the NFC North, and all the different storylines that have been going. And Lamar Jackson, what's going on there? And is Aaron Rodgers viable? Really? Can he take this team to playoffs? And all that kind of stuff. It somehow all amounted to us paying no attention to not just the Niners, but why they stayed relevant week after week. And I say it's Christian McCaffrey, along with his guy Kyle Shanahan. But really, CMC, talk about surprises this year that if you woke up from a coma, who was to say that CMC would ever look anything close to what he did a couple of years ago, the last time they were in the Super Bowl? It's weird. There has been very little attention paid to this handsome devil who, people are it feels like the advertisers of America are all in on and everything else. And yet, it's San Francisco, one of our great metropolises. That's where the Super Bowl is this year. No buzz about the Niners right now. And I think there's a decent chance that in January that all turns around. You talk about this is all prelude to the main event. The playoffs are, in fact, the main event, not the regular season, not what happened at any point in October.
And let's also include the Niners MVP, Robert Saleh, what he's been doing with the defense. I mean,
it's crazy.
The fact that these guys were on the Phil Rivers train. I'm sure a bunch of these guys were working at UPS or coaching high school football, and all of a sudden now that these guys are being called into action to keep warm bodies on this defense. And they're, look, they're not stopping people, but they're keeping the Niners in games. So yes, you're right. If the Niners can win this game, and they do it again with a classic CMC game, 80 yards rushing, 80 yards receiving, something like that, a couple touchdowns, then maybe that is enough to win CMC an MVP award. But I think the advantage that Drake Maye also has is coming from being specifically in New England. He kind of can live off a little bit of a Tom Brady type wake a little bit, and that, oh man, is this guy the next Brady? So let's acknowledge it now as opposed to a few years from now. Let's get on the Drake Maye train in year 2, as opposed to waiting to, because it feels like they'd be reluctant to sort of give it to a second-year player, and so instead it's like, maybe we'll hop on the Drake Maye train now instead of waiting to have him win a Super Bowl.
Interesting thought there. Of course, Brady gets his first Lombardi in his sophomore year, and so many quarterbacks high end get theirs in their second year. That means circle Bo Nix and Drake Maye, especially Bo Nix. But Drake Maye, the best thing that ever happened to Tom Brady, he was largely a passenger in that Super Bowl run, but getting that before it ever becomes a thing. Can he win the big one? To be at the end of your second season, and in fact, Drew Bledsoe does a little of the work in the postseason for you, and to be like, no one's ever going to question whether or not I can win the big one because I already did it. That would be the best thing to happen to Drake Maye. Related matter, if you get an MVP, that helps too. All right. It all leads up to this. Seattle Seahawks, San Francisco 49ers. We talked about the Niners looming injuries there. That's why they are plus 1.5 at home. If they can win this one, the path runs through Santa Clara for them the whole way. Total at the time of this recording, 47.5. How say you, Dutch Mook?
Kyle is in his bag right now. The offense looks fantastic. Purdy has been absolutely on fire, putting up numbers not seen since Joe Montana or even Colin Kaepernick, if you combine what he's doing with his legs. I personally think this Niners team is so dialed in. I think the Niners win it. I think they win it comfortably. I think the Niners win it by 2 TDs.
Well, the big question, it seems, is can Sam Darnold win this one in a big spot? And then people say, well, ironic you would say that when he already just beat the Niners, but I don't think that felt like that was a Sam Darnold signature win so much as it was just a bizarre sequence of events. By the way, one last thing I have to throw in on this idea about Matthew Stafford as MVP. He was my fantasy QB, as you know. I enjoyed his deeds all through the season. He also was throwing it to Puka Nacua, not just the best name in football, but maybe the best wide receiver in football, Puka Nacua. And a lot of the time, Devontae Adams. Meantime, Drake Maye, the second-year guy, is throwing the ball to old Stephon Diggs and to Hunter Henry. Who do you think had the advantage in that? I'm like, oh, well, Matthew Stafford threw 8 more touchdown passes. I don't give a good goddamn. This is the sophomore guy who the entire football town was looking at like, can you, everybody around you, Drake, is a youngster too. Can you hoist us up a little bit in year 2 and give us some hope for next year? And he goes on and wins the division, and they're a win away from 14 wins. Remarkable stuff. I'm with you. I'm going to take the Niners on a hunch in this one that they win this game. It's the carrot of, if we just win this one, guys, we'd never have to go on the road. I think that's juicy stuff for a human being who plays football for a living. Next up, Pittsburgh Steelers hosting, not their ancient rival, but their rival nevertheless, the best rivalry in pro football in this millennium. The home team Steelers plus 3.5 at the time of this recording. 40.5 is your sad total. Between two pro football teams, the big story is obviously Lamar Jackson is going to play. It sounds like TJ Watt's going to be out there. Don't know how much. The big thing is the absence of DK Metcalf. Obviously, you saw how different that offense looks when he ain't out there. Maybe Dave was right. Maybe Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan will concede that maybe we should have gotten a second wide receiver at some point in the last 2 seasons. But what's done is done. How say you on this one, Dutch Mook?
Wait, Dave, quickly, where are you on Gainwell? I thought earlier in the year you were not a big Gainwell guy, and this last 6 weeks suddenly, his pass catching has been huge for the
not
for the
last
Steelers.
week, which it should have been, but yes, I hear your larger point. Yes, no, I mean they used a 3rd round pick on Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. I am for me in the capped league, when the clock starts, as soon as you draft a guy and you have to make a decision on him after a few years and all of that, I feel like NFL teams should be incented to see what these guys are sooner rather than later. And now basically you've redshirted your 3rd round pick. That's a weird way to approach what should have been. They should have had more immediacy about trying to get him in there. But yeah, I'm not complaining about the way Kenneth Gainwell. And in fact, I think if the Steelers were to somehow win this game, Kenneth Gainwell will have to be a huge factor in it because obviously they don't have much else to target in the passing game. Pat Freiermuth, I suppose.
Well, to me, honestly, it does come down to the quarterbacks. And I think that personally, what I weigh, everyone's wondering what's going on with Lamar. Is an injury. Obviously, it was an injury, but the thing that I saw in Lamar, it looked more like malaise, and I like almost disinterest for part of the season. And so, what now? Is he motivated? Is he someone who can flip a switch? Versus an Aaron Rodgers who is, who is 100% motivated and dialed in right now.
Is he? Certainly not dialed in. I mean, he's the guy who chose to target Marcus Valdez-Scantling with the division on the line 3 straight times.
But
I don't know how dialed in that is.
Certainly seems to care more. I know that he cares. I'm not sure how much Lamar cares. Now, can you flip the care switch like the Chiefs have done over the years, seems like? The Chiefs they go Uncle Milty. They whip out just enough. And now can Lamar all of a sudden say, okay, now I'm fully invested again and I feel healthy enough again? Personally, to me, the 3.5 points is enough to me to say I would take Pittsburgh, and that would be my selection.
Well, as always, when these two teams play, I will always predict the final score is 20-17. That's been adjusted for inflation when it used to always be 13-10. The only thing left to figure out was which was going to be on the winning side. Now they've bumped it up modern times. 2017 will be your final score, and sadly, I suspect it will be the Baltimore Ravens. This is maybe dim logic because it's kind of too broad, and I think that Lamar, anything close to 100% with Derrick Henry behind him, that's enough to defeat the Steelers, given the state of the Steelers offense without their only viable pass catcher, wide receiver at least. But given that the Steelers are so diminished, the philosophy should be like, just don't give them extra chances. Take care of the ball, be conservative, run the ball with Derrick Henry. We will scratch out enough points to survive this bum offense. The problem with that is we see Lamar Jackson when he is coached to be conservative and to play it safe and not to take chances. We see that every January, and that's Lamar Jackson at his worst. And in fact, it is not a coincidence. Why does Lamar Jackson struggle against the Steelers? Because their intent in every one of these games is to drag him down into the mud and turn it into a knuckle fight. If Lamar and Todd Monken and company take that bait, the Steelers are going to have a chance in this one. I'm going to take the Ravens here. I think the thing that's unlikely to happen, because the Texans should win, I think the lemonade out of lemon that the NFL is rooting for here is you could still get, if the Texans and Chargers lose, I'm pretty sure this is accurate, you could still get Bills at Ravens. And that would be the best playoff game of them all. So that's something to root for, I guess, if you don't have a rooting interest otherwise and you'd like to react to star power, then react to that. Dutch Mook, you're the biggest star in my galaxy, except I'm going to be rooting against your Ducks. next week. In the meantime, congratulations once again on the fantasy championship. Thank you for joining us. Soup, great stuff jumping in here. Shout out to the Fuentes boys. And shout out to you, my fellow football Americans. Thanks so much. It's been a thin slice of heaven.